If you look at the GDP across the world, family run businesses contribute almost 75% of the GDP. So, relationships, values, culture, all of these things are important to a family business, that they'll still be treated like the child. Social media is the best way to market this business. Will they accept it? As soon as you can win the trust of generation 1, they will give you a free hand. Biggest splits that happen is when they are not talking, they are not communicating. When we do the succession planning with the family, that induction of Gen 2 into the business is equally important. They should also feel that, okay, this is my business, this is what I have built. Not only they start early, but they also let them fail early. Family run businesses are a success.
Welcome to All That Matters, the podcast that helps you grow, learn, and make better life choices. In today's episode, we have a very special guest, Smita Goswamy, a renowned family business coach and an author of the Amazon bestseller Family Run to Family Led. With over 2 decades of experience, she has successfully mentored and trained over 1,000 business owners, helping them transition their family business into legacy-driven enterprises. In this episode, Smita ma'am answers few big questions like how to decide if you should even join your family business, how to balance your dreams with family expectations, actionable steps to build trust and excel in your family business. If you are a part of a business or thinking about it, this episode will give you the clarity and tools you need. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe for more impactful conversations like this. And now, let's get started with Smita Goswamy on All That Matters.
Thank you, Rudrik. Thank you, Tirth, for having me here.
So, first, tell us what is family business?
So it's a great question, Rudrik. A family business is where there are at least two members of a family. They could be from the same generation or they could be from multi generations. They are working together operationally within the business, or they at least have decision making powers, or maybe they have ownership of that particular business. So this is what you could define, the best way to define a family run business.
So, Smita ma'am, can you share some stories that people have actually struggled? So, real life case, since you work with a lot of business owners and maybe the new generation coming in, so you would have had a discussion, ke, boss, I am considering what are the key factors and what problems do they have, the first generation who's joining the family business. So, can you share some stories or maybe a case study that you have come across?
Sure, Rudrik. So, before I answer that question, I just want to share with the audience, everybody who's listening to us, is that the first thing they should look at is why they should be joining, and then let's look at why they shouldn't. So, predominantly, if I would say, uh, of all the manufacturing companies that are there in India, 83% are family run. So this is something which is happening out there, and I'm just talking about India. But if you look at the GDP across the world, family run businesses contribute almost 75% of the GDP. So it's a success. Family run businesses are a success. You will find them in every nook and corner, from your kirana store to the chemist shop to the optician to the manufacturing to the pharma guy. Everywhere is a family run business. So there are certain merits. One is you have a lot of experience. You have probably your father or your chacha or your mother who's actually set the business, or even your grandfather or grandmother who have set a business, and they know exactly what the customer wants. They know exactly, they have relationships, you have money available, you know what, you have an establishment, you probably have a factory or you have a shop. So you have things in place. What do you have to do? You just have to grow it. So family run businesses thrive in uncertainty. In COVID, the MNCs would have shut operations, but a family run business would not do it. They don't leave their employees in a lurch, they don't stop salaries. So, family run businesses, I think, if you look at value based or culturally, very strong.
Why is that? I'm sorry. So, as you said, in COVID, most of the family run business didn't stop, right?
They are in it for the long term. A family, when they start a business, don't forget where they are coming from. They don't forget that, listen, we set this business 20 years back and we want to continue to service our customer 30 years also. So they will never put a relationship on the line. They will never risk a customer. Why? Because they want long term. An MNC or a company which is very professionally managed only looks at profit.
It's pretty black and white, profit or loss. In family business, is it that emotions, relationship matter more than profits?
It's absolutely true, Rudrik, because that's why we have the word family included, right? Otherwise, it would just be business, because business is just numbers, it's your profitability, it is the way you run your company. But when you say family business, you are saying that the values that you have even in your own family, like Adati Deva Bhava, you will always welcome a guest in your house. That's how they look at customers also. They welcome them in the same way. If you look at any shop, suppose it is run by a Gujarati or a Jain or a Marwari, the way they welcome a customer is as if they have known him for years. These are certain cultural values that pass on into the family business because of the family that you come from. So, relationships, values, culture, all of these things are important to a family business. And therefore, when it is a short term, it is a dip in the economy, it is a customer asking for credit, it is someone who cannot pay, they want to hold on to the customer because they are in it for the long run. So that's the beauty of a family run business, that they want to maintain relationships, right? So they do very well when probably generation 1 who's founded the business and generation 2 who's joining in, when they work together, it's brilliant.
So ideally speaking, when a generation 2 is coming, so like even I asked you earlier, what are the fears that they have in their mind before joining a family business?
So the fears, I would say, is one, that they'll still be treated like the child, right? They'll not be treated as a person of that age who can bring value to the business. That is one big thing. Every new generation youth, I would say, whether boy or girl, is going to say that. Second, they're going to, what they feel is, am I going to get paid, or am I just going to continue on the pocket money? So if I was working in another company, I would be drawing a salary check, I'd be able to spend it the way I want. Here I'm in the family business, am I going to get paid? Will they pay me on time? Is it going to match what my friends are drawing if they're working for another company? Do I have a say in what I want to buy? Right? So they're concerned, am I going to get money? Right? Will they take me seriously? If I want to give certain suggestions, if I'm telling them that, hey, social media is the best way to market this business, will they accept it? Will they be ready to spend money on my ideas? So these two things. And the third big thing, will they respect me? Because I'll go into an organization, they're going to say, hey, this is the assistant sales manager, this is the sales manager, he's an executive. So you have certain kind of a credibility and respect that you get, which you may not get in the family because you're the younger one who's just joined in, and you probably, they'll say, आपको कुछ नहीं आता है.
Which might also be true. नहीं आएगा when someone starts off.
नहीं आएगा. And recognition. If you're putting in work, if you've got that new customer, will you be recognized that, hey, Tirth, you did a great job, you got a new customer? Or will you have to say, Tirth, you could have done this better. You know that. Why do you get this customer? Why didn't you get the other customer? Why have you got this person? Please do it better the next time. So they are not going to stop parenting you. That is the biggest, these are some of the concerns that any generation 2 youth has, that if I join my family business, will I get the recognition? Will I get the respect? Will I get money? Will I get paid for what I'm doing?
Respect, come on, comes with time. But then how does a Gen 2 make sure that they are taken seriously when they are joining a family business?
So, getting experience, building on yourself, working in another organization, learning something new and teaching to the employees, uh, behaving in a very nice way with the employees, with the seniors in that business, will all make sure that you get accepted into the business. So many of Gen 2 feel कि अरे I am फलाने का son, I am the grandson, so they have to accept me. He has to prove his capability.
So where should he begin his journey, and how should he then transition his journey into the family business?
What I can share with you is that every Gen 2 has 4 options in front of them. The first option is that you are very eager to join. You like the business, you see there is a future for you, so you join it. The second is that you work somewhere else. Suppose you are an engineer, maybe you work for L&T or Linde or any of the large corporates, learn a lot. And when there is a requirement, you come back. The third is that you try and join the business, but from day one, you are running your own venture. You have a spin-off. You decide, okay, I want to do something. If they are into manufacturing, I want to get into distribution. Something beyond, something which the company is not doing already. Or they are manufacturing a particular product, but you want to manufacture a product which will add value, increase the price of that particular product. So you start with a new venture from day one and you make that a success. Or you could even join the business or the family business, but do something other than the core business. So we had another client wherein the son had done his MBA in finance from US. So he came down, and this family was into opticals. They were opticians, so they had multiple shops across the city. So he said, since I have a financial background, let me manage the financial assets of the family. So which, are we giving franchisees? What space we will hire? Where we'll get the money from? So he started looking at that. So it's not necessary you join the main function. He or she doesn't have to become the optician or stand at the shop and sell that, but they can be managing the finance part of it. They could be managing the franchisee or the procurement. So that's the third part. And fourth is, of course, you don't join at all. You find your own path and you follow your dream and you reach there. And these are all options available for all of us, and there is no right or wrong. So I would say there is no right or wrong in any of these options, but it is something that should work for you.
Of course, the older generation might have a different viewpoint. So how does a new generation handle these objections that the older generation would have? What should they ideally do? Should they come up with a prototype that this is how we'll do, this is the benefit? Or how should they approach that kind of objections that they face from the older generation?
Right. So one of the things that I feel that every Gen 2 should have, and Gen 1 also has, is patience. Any change takes time. Right? So I would always say that break down the change. Don't try and change the marketing and the customer reach in day one itself. Start by smaller and smaller things. As soon as you can win the trust of Generation 1, they will give you a free hand. Let me tell you one thing. Gen 1 wants the business to succeed. And the only one that they can depend on is Gen 2 or Gen 3. So it is in their interest to involve a Gen 2. So if we can understand that part and play the patience game, many a times you have to let a loss happen before someone starts taking you seriously. So you are playing a long-term game. So small wins don't matter, and don't make that personal as well. So play a long-term game. How would you like to earn the trust? Talk to them, keep talking to them that this is the changes that we should make, and hence we can get a better result.
So then when we talk about this, say a Gen 2 has joined, they've decided to join the business. They're there observing, learning how the business actually functions, getting to know the nitty-gritties. At that point, I'd say a point as you mentioned before as well, okay, will they be given a pocket money? How much do they get paid? Is also a big question, because at the end of the day, any Gen 2 will look at their friends who are into corporates and who are making an X amount. So how does one come to that number in that case? What does that conversation looks like? Because end of the day, if there is some disagreement, we don't want it to go to the dining table as well. So how does that work? So basically, how does the, let's not call it pocket money, but how is the pay scale of a Gen 2 typically determined in a family business?
So Tirth, I would actually say that it should go to the dining table. Such discussions should go to the dining table, because see, one of the biggest things we have observed when working with clients is the biggest splits that happen is when they are not talking, they are not communicating, and when the dinner table conversations are not happening, right? So when you're saying compensation, what should a Gen 2 get as a compensation? I feel that every Gen 2 should have an open, honest conversation, maybe with the mother as well, and with the father if they're working or both parents are working. But they should have an open, honest conversation that these are some of my needs. I need an X amount to run or to have a good life. And if I am happy, I can contribute a lot to the business. Maybe they will shun you in the first year, but as the parents or the Gen 1 realize that you're really contributing to the business, they will open up. One thing that they say in sales, that you need to ask 6 times. The answer will always be no, but the 7th time the person will say yes. Many generation 2 feel, array, this is my parent, this is my father, this is my kaka, this is my grandfather, this is my grandmother. How can they not understand that I also need money and that I also deserve this kind of money? So put that thought out of your mind. If you don't want your parent or your grandfather or whoever to treat you like a child, you'll also have to stop behaving like one and expecting them to be fair to you just because you're part of the family. So it works both ways. You will have to become professional, prove your worth, keep asking, and you will get it. And then they will also start treating you in the same way.
So, as you mentioned earlier, that several family business, like the first generation and then the new generation coming in, the second generation fears that will I get paid? So, how about the personal finance of the generation 2 that is coming? Like, they also observe their friends who are in corporates are buying new iPhones or anything, and they are not getting so much money and they don't have the freedom to do that. So, how do personal finance of a second generation work in a family business?
Yeah, so Rudrik, that's really the tricky part because it's an absolute fact that most, and I would say almost 95% of the businesses, the family members don't draw salaries, right? They don't draw salaries because they have a common kitty. They want to put certain personal expenses to manage their financial expenses, to bring down the profitability, that the tax is managed, or even investments are done from the common kitty, vacations are planned from the common kitty. Now it is very difficult to change, like I mentioned previously, that it gets difficult if you try and change the core of the business. Same way it gets difficult to change the way a family has been working for a long period of time. But it is really in the benefit of Gen 2 to keep bringing this up and not let it become a conflict but a discussion, that how can we manage this better. Maybe I can draw an X amount, so you start small and then you increase it as you show contribution, or as you show that you're doing well, you're managing that expense well. What is really a parent worried about? They're worried about that if I give too much money to my son or daughter, they might get some bad habits, or they start spending too much, or I won't have control over them. So, what the generation 2 needs to do is they need to be really smart. They need to understand that is money the way that their parent or Gen 1 is controlling them? Or is it that they are very conservative and they don't want them to spend too much? What is it that the Gen 1 wants? And how their family is structured? But bring it up. Have an open, honest conversation. And if they say no, it's okay, but you'll have to keep trying again. Eventually, when you come to a level wherein you are contributing enough to the business and they feel that yes, you are doing a great job, you will be able to set the terms, you will be able to draw. But again, patience will be the game. The thing is that Gen 2 is getting everything actually they want. They are getting that business class ticket, they are getting that education abroad, they are getting a fancy car. It's just that it is not money in their bank account. So I feel Gen 2 should not be insecure.
I have a follow up question on that. That since you work with the family and particularly in Gen 2, do they feel disconnected that I haven't worked? So, like if you put in a lot of effort, you are more connected to something that you have built. You have seen, you have gone out, you are on the street selling one on one to your customer. And Gen 2 directly, as you mentioned, gets a fancy car, business class ticket, a big office. Do they feel as much connected to the business as Generation 1?
To be honest, Rudrik, no, not on day one. On day one, it is this is where my money is coming from. This is how I have my lifestyle, right? Now it is up to Gen 1 to include them in the business. If they don't do it right, Gen 2 will always be on the fence. कि चलो आज का दिन निकल गया. At least I have enough money to take my trip to maybe Japan in the next month. So I'm okay. I'll tolerate this for a period of time. So it is also when we do the succession planning with the family, that induction of Gen 2 into the business is equally important. They should also feel that okay, this is my business, this is what I have built, this is the problem I have solved, or I am valued in this company. So Gen 1 has to work really hard to make that happen. So these are things which need to be done consciously by Gen 1 or the founding generation who's trying to get the Generation 2 in. If they do it well, you will have a multi-generation business. So there is a business in Japan which is running for 42 generations. So they must be doing something right, inducting. We have succession planning for all leaders in multinationals. So every CEO, every leader of a function has 2 or 3 people who are planned, who are trained to take up his role. Unfortunately, in family run businesses, we don't invest that much time in understanding, okay, this is a new person. He might be my son or daughter, but he doesn't know anything. And he's starting from scratch and he won't know anything. But we expect, नहीं मेरा बेटा है, मेरी बेटी है, उसको तो पता ही होना चाहिए. अभी 10 साल से आ रहा है ऑफिस, अभी भी पता नहीं है कि क्या करना है. हाउ इज इट पॉसिबल? सो दैट्स आवर कॉन्वर्सेशन विद Gen 1, explaining to them the effort they need to put in to include Gen 2 into their business, into their work life, into their business. And the other conversation we have is how you should behave in office. Many a times, and we had this as well, that one of our clients, the father would scold the son in front of the employees in the office because he never stopped being a father. He was a father at home, he was a father in work. So the other conversations we have is you have to behave differently. If you're at home, you behave differently. You be nice to your child, you spend time, you chill, you play. But if you're at work, you treat each other with respect because everyone is watching. And this is, I think, this could be one of the other reasons that Gen 2 feels that, listen, I am not coming to office.
So in this, say we flip the conversation and look at Gen 1, for example.
Yeah.
So I'd say if there are 3-4 things that you'd like to tell Gen 1 that they should keep in mind to just make sure that the Gen 2 is being inducted smoothly, being onboarded smoothly, what would those be?
So the first thing that we always tell is start early. Start early. So a child is most impressionable at the age of around 10 or 11. If you want to really get them into the business, start that early. Start talking to them about the good times and the bad times. Many a times we find that Gen 1 comes home and just cribs. ये कस्टमर ने पैसा नहीं दिया, ये का अभी मुझे शॉप बंद करना पड़ेगा, अभी इकोनॉमी डाउन हो रही है, अभी सब वॉर होने वाला है तो आवर धंधा नहीं चलने वाला. If you talk negative to Gen 2, why will they join your business? So, talking in the correct light, I don't say that bring it down, but at least the plus and the minuses, the pros and cons of the business that you're in, because that business is helping you run your family and giving education and putting food on the table, right? So, start early. 10 and 11 is the correct age wherein you start having a conversation with your child, your nephew, your niece about the business. Start involving them. Let them be part of the dinner table conversations, that this is how we managed a problem, or this is the issue, or this is the subsidy that we are getting. Teach them all of that, right? Teach them that the business is not just about making money, it is also about giving employment, helping the community, doing charity. The Gen 2 should feel value of being part of that family and hence part of that business, and know the difference. Like I mentioned earlier, that you're a father or a mother at home, but at the workplace you are just another professional who has to get work done from others. So understand what hat you're wearing and where, right? Treat your child or Gen 2 as a professional in the workplace. Treat them as a beloved family member at home. So understand the difference. The third is, don't take advantage, don't not pay them salaries. Teach them in the right way that what it means to set up. And last but not the least, they should learn how to let go. They should learn to let go. What happens is, when someone has built their business, they are so emotionally attached. They feel that their decisions are the best decisions. Nobody else can take better decisions than them. I always tell Gen 1, get a hobby. Do something for the community, because after a certain age, if you don't let go, Generation 2 will never learn. And it is better they learn and make mistakes when you are there, rather than they make mistakes when you are gone. So these are some things that we tell Gen 1, that hey, these are the roles you should be playing, and making sure that Gen 2 is equipped to take your business, your legacy forward, what you have built. So these are some things that we definitely tell Gen 1.
So essentially changing bedtime stories into family business stories.
Absolutely, could be.
Like mentoring through stories that they would also understand, and not that thing that my father is telling me so I won't listen. Sometimes that could be the case, but through stories it is a great way to mentor your Generation 2 coming in the business.
In fact, Rudrik, I'd like to share, this is something that actually happened. So the book, Family Run to Family Led, has 5 stories. Okay, there are 5 stories about families and their journeys and what decisions they took. So one of the people, one Generation 2, purchased the book and actually gifted it to his Generation 1 and said, why don't you read this story and then let's talk about it? Because it was, and what he found was that Generation 1 was more open to reading a story and understanding where things were going wrong, rather than Generation 2 having to tell him that, hey, it's not working out, I'm not getting the due respect that I need, or I'm not getting enough money that I need, or I'm not happy in this. So utilizing a book, seeing a movie together are great conversation starters. So we always tell that to families in business: watch movies together, travel together, solve problems together, solve mysteries together. Put the missing piece, get it together. When you solve a problem together, when there's that unity, it shows in the business as well.
In terms of that, then say a Gen 2 is coming in, they've finished college, they may or may not have studied something related to the business. Uh, how important is for the Gen 2 to work externally, ideally in a similar business line, uh, say not a competitor company, but a similar working line company, and then join into the business? Is it an absolute that yes, you need to do that, or it doesn't really matter?
So, if you have the opportunity, everyone should work outside. Everyone should gain that experience because you will also bring a lot of perspective into the business. You will bring good systems into your business. You might get a great idea by working with a competitor. You might get a great idea by working in a leader in a particular industry that is as per your education. But if you have the opportunity to work outside, grab it. I would tell that to everyone. Grab it, learn, and come back. And therefore you'll get respected, you will add value, you will have confidence. So it's a win-win for everyone. But in the beginning, the question that you asked me that should I work, I should not work, uh, it always starts with you. I mean, if you are a person who has to take a decision that I want to join the family business or not, the first question you should ask is, what is my motivation? What do I really want in life? Do I want to do I want to become a pilot? Do I want to become a writer? What do I want in life? What drives me? What makes me happy? So know yourself first. That should be the first thing that any person, before they even ask this question, should I join my family business or not, they should ask themselves, what is my motivation and what makes me happy? What do I really want to do?
I'd say a few takeaways from this podcast that I'd like to be is, if any Gen 2 is looking at this, what are 2-3 factors that they can always keep in mind to see if they should join or not? I am a 20 something person sitting trying to decide job ले लूँ offer है या family business join करूँ. So what are the 2-3 things that I should keep in mind?
So, Tirth, yeah, great question. That's something that's always that Gen 2 is struggling with. The first thing, it always starts with you. So, I think anybody in our audience who's struggling with that, or either of you are struggling with that, the first thing you need to answer is, what is your motivation? What makes you happy? So, when a person knows themselves, their likes, their dislikes, what's going to make them happy, they take better decisions. So start with yourself. Be selfish first. Think about yourself. The next question you need to ask is that, can you work with your family? You're staying with your family. You've got your family, that's your gift. You can't choose your family, but you choose your friends. Now, if you have to take a decision, can I work with this family day in and day out? Try and answer that question, right? The third thing you should look at is, what's really the prospect of your business? Is this a long-term business? If you were to join this business, what value you will bring? Is there that this business will last your lifetime, or can you take it forward and make it last another generation? Will it generate enough wealth for you, your extended family, your current family, your siblings? These are all very hard and practical questions that you should ask, and you should have an answer to it. If the answer is yes, this business excites me, yes, I would like to work with my family, and yes, I see a future in this business, or this is how I can add value to the business, then ask yourself one last question. Do you have it in you to grow this business? Are you willing to give everything that is required to become that leader that's going to grow this business or set up a new line, right? And if you're getting a positive answer that yes, these are the things that I would like to do, I think you would enter your family business with a very positive attitude, knowing very well that the business will add value to you, you will add value to the business, and that You will make sure that you keep your family intact. You will not let any business issues break your family. So if the answer to all of this is yes, please go ahead. Take that leap of faith and join the family business. But at any point of time you say no, I can't work with my father, and that's a reality. I cannot work with him because you might have a lot of reasons. Then do you have it in you to go out there, relocate to a Bangalore or a Bombay and Delhi the hard way, buy a house, travel 2 hours to your office location, get involved in politics of the company, and still make it? Do you have it in you? If you have, yes, go ahead, make your, realize your dream, go ahead, live your life. So be very clear what is working for you, and that each one, whatever choice you make, whether you choose to join the business or not join the business, life is hard. Life is very hard, right? We get a cushioned approach when it's our family business. There's a little bit of a cushion there, but outside world is ruthless. Your boss is going to make sure that you're working 12 hours in a day. You will be living in a 1 bedroom apartment, but you will be free. You won't have anybody telling you, hey, I can't give you money at the end of the day, or that you can't do this or you can't do that. So choose. Do you want freedom? Do you have a dream that you want to pursue? Please go ahead, live it. You want to be a musician, you want to be a photographer, and that's not related to your family business at all. Go ahead, live that dream, but you have to make it out on yourself. Don't think that your parents are going to fund you and then you're going to go and live that dream. So if you're taking a decision, I want to do something on my own, go ahead. Believe in yourself that you have it in you to make it on your own. But if you want to join the family business, don't come in a view that everything is going to be hunky-dory and that you're entitled to good treatment and that you're entitled to salary on day one and that everyone is going to be nice to you.
One thing that came into mind though when you were saying this is, as you said, not everyone likes to work with their father, right? But then there will be some who are, say, an only child or stuff like that. Then how does Gen 2 typically balance between the emotional aspect and the practical aspect of joining their family business?
Right.
There might be a case, say, the business is fairly small, as in say 1 CR or lower, the family business, but they see there is scope of growth, they are already doing well, or they know they can do well in corporate, make some similar amount. So how does that emotional quotient and practicality, how does one balance that? What should one keep in mind for that?
So this is one example again that I give to my clients whenever we do have a session with them. I put them in a situation, and I would like to put both of you in that situation also. That think about it, that you are in IT, okay, in the IT field, and you've just joined an organization, right? And you want to get promoted. What are you going to do? How are you going to manage your boss? Okay, are you going to understand your boss? Are you going to understand what is important to them? Are you going to be better than your peers so that you get noticed? And then you will try and have a great relationship with your boss. Is your boss going to be kind to you? Are they going to be nice? No. Is there going to be politics in the workplace? Yes. Are you going to fight it all and still make a mark? Why? Why are you doing all that? Because you want to survive over there, right? So your survival instinct kicks in, and you are forced to display that behavior until it gets too much and say, I don't like this boss, I'm going to quit, I'll get another job. But you're doing all of this when you're taking up a job. Now look at it this way, your father or your mother is your boss at the workplace. How are you going to manage them? So I would always tell Gen 2 to be smart. In fact, you know your boss in a family business very well. You know when they say no, and you know how to get them to say yes, right? So keep the ego aside. Keep that relationship that I am the child or I am a nephew or grandchild. Keep that away. That's at home. Come to the workplace saying that, listen, we have to work together. This is someone I'm reporting into. This is someone I'm learning from. This is how I will behave, and make sure that I will manage. So what happens is that even if I was working with my parent, I would say घर पे तो अच्छे से treat करते हैं, यहाँ पे क्या हो गया? You know, why should I have to ask them that can I enter your cabin? In at home, when they ask me to get a bottle of water, I'll say I'll get it after 10 minutes, and they're okay with it. But if I don't submit that report in 2 days, he's making such a ruckus about it. So I just want to tell Gen 2 that at home you can get away with a lot of things, but at the workplace, if you want them to treat you as a professional, as a great team member, you'll have to display the same. You'll have to play that game. The rules are there. You have to play that game, right? So you've got to manage your boss. I would just say that in a salaried or in an employed situation, you do it very well, and no question asked. Nobody complains. You just vent it out, and then you say, okay, fine, now both ho gaya, I'll leave the job. The only thing is here you can't put in your resignation. That's the only thing. You've got to make it work. But you have an advantage, so use that advantage. That's what I would tell you.
Let's come to, like, we can't not have this discussion around family business के why are Gujaratis, Sindhis and Marwaris excelling at this particular field. So वो लोग क्या अलग कर रहे हैं मतलब?
ज़्यादा कुछ अलग नहीं कर रहे, but their culture and their values are so different from the rest that are doing businesses. So I would say right now top business owners, top family run businesses mostly come from these communities. Either they are Jains or Marwadis or Gujaratis, right? So couple of things that we've noticed since we've worked with so many of them. One is that if you come from a family, a business, a family that is doing business, they don't look down upon doing business. They tell you feel you have a feel good factor because everyone around you is also doing business, right? So that's one of the first things. The second thing is that they have risk taking ability. Why? घर से solid है. मतलब they do have savings. They have I mean, all Gujaratis, it is known that they buy grains for the entire year. So even if there are ups and downs in the business, nobody is going to go hungry. So their habits are that they save money. Their habits are that they take the community along with them. Everywhere you will have an extended community when it comes to Gujaratis, Marwaris or Jains. They take the community along. That means they have larger number of people who are standing together in case there is a problem. In case even one person does not succeed, the whole community lifts him.
And even the trust factor, like they have their extended families more in the business than some stranger or outsider. So they have more probably leverage over them in a way.
Leverage, control, more trust in that business. So all of those things make them successful in business. They are very enterprising. They are very hardworking. You will find a Gujarati or a Marwari any corner of the world that you go. It could be the most remotest of location. That means they don't mind taking a risk. They don't mind working hard to set up. They don't mind starting from small and setting up a business. They grab opportunities. So when they have that kind of a mindset, everyone in the family starts also having that mindset. They are financially very prudent. They understand money. They understand business. So like I said, when you start early, that child of 10 years of age, if she's listening to the father and saying, okay, this is how you invest in the stock market, this is when you make money, this is a bull run, this is a bear run, why you should invest, why you should not invest, these are all ingrained in them from their childhood. And this comes into impact when they start investing themselves. So 14-year-olds have their mutual fund portfolio. They will be very stable by the time they're 18. Then they can take a risk, they can explore. And also I would say that availability of capital. I think traditionally there weren't many banks who would give you money to start a business. Now the scenario has changed. You can pick up money from the market, you have VCs and all of that. But for these communities, capital was always easily available, so you could start your business. This is very inherent, I would say, cultural issue. It's something which the way the community works and the way they have an outlook towards business, risk, and enterprise. All these things make them extremely successful in business world.
Since you work very closely, can you share something? How do they mentor the second generation, the third generation? How do they go about mentoring? Is there a particular difference in that they follow, or
So, one of the things that we have observed is that not only they start early, but they also let them fail early. So, if you fail early, you know how to get up, right? You are also you also send your Gen 2 or Gen 3 into difficult scenarios. Like, for example, you have someone who is into, say, farsan manufacturing, and they say that why don't you set up this same manufacturing or retail. If you're manufacturing in Gujarat, why don't you set up shops in Rajasthan, or why don't you go and set up shop in probably Chandigarh? So they are given opportunity and then they are sent to rough it out. They have to go and establish. So one thing that we have definitely, I would see that in Gujaratis and Marwaris, is they anyway have extended families, and they have to make sure that everyone has an income and everyone is able to take care of their families. So they have already, they I feel that they have really perfected the art that how do you include the full family and make sure that all of them are making money. So they make sure that there is enough opportunity for all of them, extended families, multiple families, extensions, expansions, giving them enough capital for them to start up something new so that the whole family can benefit. So all of these things make a lot of difference. So they put them in situations wherein they have to learn, they fail, they learn, but nobody looks down on failure. I would say that the most successful business men or women are the ones who've never gone to school, because they don't understand the concept. They've never had this report card where you say it's failed or A plus or 95%. For them it is about, did I grab that opportunity, did I solve the problem, was I successful? So, I mean, I was hoping you asked me that question, that, what is the education level of the most successful business owners, and you'll be surprised to know that they are dropouts, they've not done schooling, so they are not conditioned. They are not conditioned by
see
the
themselves
education
as
system that, oh, if you fail, it's a big deal.
you are a loser, or
You are a
don't-
loser, or you are not good enough if you've not got good grades. But life is not that, and business is definitely not that. So, a lot of this conditioning, you will find that a lot of children are not educated and they're still taken into the family business. Stay away from the conditioning. Take the knowledge, don't get conditioned by the education system. It's okay to fail and it's absolutely okay to make a mistake. What is not okay is that you don't get up after that. So, make that mistake, but get up, try something new, don't give up. And that's what generation 2 should be doing: exploring, evolving, learning. That's what we were meant to do.
do these families learn together? Are there something that they particularly do in such family businesses that you work, or you have some workshop that they go through? How does the learning process of the entire family work?
So, what we try and do is we make sure that the stories are shared. What's happening nowadays is people only share good stories. People don't share their trouble times, they don't share where they failed, they don't share why things should be done. Like, I'll give you another example. So one of our clients, they have two generations in business, and one of them, the senior generation is closing 60 now. They're 60 years of age, so they have been in business for almost 40 years. They've seen every business life cycle. They know when it's going to be up, they know when the down is going to follow, what's going to happen. but they never pass that information to Gen 2. Business cycle information should be passed on to Gen 2. See, listen, after 2 years of success, there is going to be a downfall. How do you manage? What happens when there is an economic crisis? What happens when there is war? What happens when there is a competitor? What happens when there is threat from technology? How did we cope? What you should be doing? These are the things. The coping mechanism is always passed through stories. So we try and get them to communicate through stories, sharing their own life stories, their journeys, their highs, their lows. So once they get it to a safe zone, and this becomes a habit, it improves the communication within the family, it helps people share, and they're learning. Gen 2 is learning. That's the best way to learn. I would say you will never forget a good story. You can forget your textbook, you can forget the formula, but you'll never forget a good story.
Well, then, when we see your book, the one that you've written, Family Run to Family Led, now Rudrik and I both are Gen 2. We are both into family business. So, if we wanted to know straight from the author, what would be the 2-3 key takeaways that you would say are a must from that book? What would those be?
First of all, I want you guys to read the book, right? You must read the book. But it's written absolutely for you. It's absolutely written for Gen 2, Gen 3, and some of it is for Gen 1. But Gen 1 already has set up the business. Gen 1 is already running a successful empire, or they've already made it. They've seen the good years. It's Gen 2 and Gen 3 which need to really prove themselves. So the book is essentially for Gen 2 and Gen 3, telling them that you are the center. Like the questions that I mentioned, ask yourself those questions. So it's a self-help book wherein once you read it, you understand how a family business is structured. So it's not just business, it's not just money, it's family. So it's relationships. It's not just family and business, it is also wealth. So you may decide that you want to be that photographer and you don't want to join that family business. But the wealth still belongs to you. What is being earned by the family. So how you should be taking care of it. So there are 3 aspects of every family run business. It's family, business and wealth. Most people only look at business, they forget the family, and therefore there are a lot of splits. Most people look at family and business and forget that there is a wealth which has to be managed and also given down generations. So the book tells you that what a family business is, what are the real components of a family business, why relationships are important, why Gen 1 having a hobby and a personal interest is important, how you should prepare yourself to become worthy that they include you in family business. And the book also has, like I mentioned, it has 5 stories. It takes into account the community angle as well. So all 5 stories are 5 families coming from different communities, and hence what is the cultural context of a family business in that. So there are different situations that we've catered to. So for example, there is one case study wherein it is a mother who's leading the business, and she has 2 daughters and a son, and the 3 of them are managing the business, but the son is working abroad. So how does that dynamic impact the family relations in that particular family? There is another story which is about a Marwari family, wherein you have that they are close to 6 cousins, but the most capable is a lady. But because it is a cultural context that you don't allow women to work in the family business, how much she has to work to prove herself to get accepted into the family business. We have another story of a Punjabi family. We have a story wherein you have that the parents have built a big business, and they have one daughter, and the daughter is not interested in managing the business at all, but it is the son-in-law who is who wants to manage the business, who's capable of managing the business. So what are the dynamics when there are in-laws? You have a daughter-in-law who joins the business, or a son-in-law who joins the business. So these stories give you certain context and what's happening in other people's lives, in other businesses, what is the cultural context, and what decisions they made, and what is the impact and the consequence of that decision. So you can live that story with them and say, okay, was it a right decision or what is a wrong decision? Should I be making similar decisions or not? So the book is absolutely self-help, and there are stories that are written to give you a lot of context as to what happens in a family business. So after each and every chapter, there are a lot of questions that you should answer for yourself. And when you get the answers, you're able to take a better decision. So go ahead, read that book. Yes.
When it comes to managing wealth in general, for a Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4, whichever, they have a business and they don't see any succession planning being done, or anyone who can actually go ahead, not even themselves. How does typically one approach managing wealth of their family business?
So, traditionally, you always have one person from the family, or maybe Gen 1, or the founder who is investing money or working towards building wealth. Uh, Many a times they are not open to sharing or getting professional help. So when Gen 2 comes in, if they can bring in a professional angle to it, that let's have a professional wealth advisor who can help us grow our personal funds, or can we remove some money from the business?
Just a question to that, as you were answering, if I may ask with an example, for example, say there is a family who've built XYZ business to a certain level. They've got two daughters, both are married. None of the daughters want to join it, nor do the in-laws, or maybe we don't know all of that.
Yeah.
Correct? Now, how does that family, the person who's actually running the business, manage that well? Because it's a huge business. What do they do with that?
That's when a real professional is needed, I would say. See, there are three cycles going on parallelly, right? Your family cycle, your family is growing, kids are getting married, children are getting educated. Your family is also going through a life cycle. Your business is going through a life cycle, and your money invested is also going through a life cycle, right? Now, if generation 1 accepts that I have two daughters, none of them are interested, nobody from my family is invested. If they say, okay, let the business die its due death, okay, I'm going to retire, जो है बंद होता जाएगा, customers चले जाएंगे, whatever, what have they done? You know they've actually made sure that whatever they set up, they had to close it, or they had to let it die its own death. That's the worst thing that they can do. You wouldn't want your business venture or the wealth that you've accumulated to go waste and not go to your family or your children, whoever it's due to. So this is where I would say Gen 1, it starts with the mindset. They have to understand that, listen, I will not be able to run this business and nobody from my family is interested. If I sell it at the peak, I walk away with a lot of money, and that means my family will have the wealth that I have worked for to build this business. So we'll have to start with mindset. So we work with them and say, hey, are you willing to let go? Because there's nobody else who's going to take it. Or would you like to sell it to one of your employees? Or would you want to work in partnership? There are a lot of options that are available. I would just say it would be the worst thing that they let their businesses die away and let that wealth also crumble and let it just disappear. Rather, they should be taking good decisions at a certain age. And okay, nobody's willing to take this forward. I am 60 right now. What can I do to sell it off in the next 5 years? Can I sell it off? Can I sell it to my employee? Can I change it to match my lifestyle? Generally, what people do is they set a business and they build their life and family around it. You are an individual, you have your family, the business has to serve a certain purpose. That is not your whole life. So it starts with that. It starts with giving them options of what they can do. Can they sell? Can they shut down? Should they shut down? What is the right time to shut down? Can they get professionals to run it? Like we have a client who are doctors. husband and wife are doctors, and their daughter is an artist. So she was like, I am not going to run the hospital. So they've actually got into an arrangement with a junior doctor, and they said that we will, once we retire, we will hand over the entire clinic, the goodwill and the patients to you. You make sure that you're giving us royalty. Now that's a win-win situation, because you know that you've set up. So doctors are also business owners, right? They've set up their practice, they've set up a goodwill, they've set up a hospital, and now that their daughter is not interested in, or is not a doctor who can take it forward. But what is the best way to monetize it and make sure that they have built that hospital so that legacy continues, and that the junior doctor is also getting something wherein he will work hard enough to make sure that they are getting the royalty or a cut or a profit sharing in the future. So it is about taking the decisions at the right time. And also, if you've started something, it is also about making sure that it is well kept in your lifetime. You don't wait for passing away and then letting someone else sell your business by breaking it down into pieces, right? So we always tell Gen 1 or a founder or someone who has to, pass it on to the next generation, that it is in your hands. You've started it, now give it a future, give it in the right hands. It may be your children, or it may be a professional, or it may be someone else that you decide to sell off to. So it is not that it needs to be a very large business to think about selling off, or it has to be really large that you think that, okay, I will have to do certain things, then only person will buy it. It can be a chemist shop, it can be an export business, it can be a trading business. Now, if you're into trading business, it could be that maybe a manufacturer is interested in taking over your trading business also. So, whether you are small scale, large scale, retail, or you are a SME or MSME, there is a way out. There's absolutely always a way out for you to monetize it. The thing is, it is about timing it well. It is about taking a decision not when things are crumbling, but when things are in your control, that okay, now I know that there's nobody who's going to take it up further. Dilip Sanghvi, the owner and founder of Sun Pharma, his father had a chemist shop. He started out like that, and that's when he decided that he wanted to go further in this field and set up his pharmaceutical business. Now the company has a turnover of, I would say, almost 13,000 crores, right? It's Gen 2. The Gen 2 has taken an idea and converted into a mega successful business.
If there is anything specific, anything, say a message that you want to give to all the Gen 2s out there who have a family business sitting right there in their eyesight and are unsure what to do or are still thinking, any 2 cents that you want to give to in the podcast?
Yeah, what I would like to tell them is that don't get swayed by what you see on social media. Don't get swayed by what your friends are doing. Their circumstances and their families and their businesses are very different. If you have to take a decision for yourself, know yourself first. Know why. The why for joining the family business should be very clear. Patience is a virtue. It is going to come in handy. Understand what motivates you. Understand, is it the money that's going to keep you happy? Is it working with your family that's going to keep you happy? Or is it that building something together is going to keep you happy? What is it that's going to give you happiness? You've got to work for your own happiness. You've already got a great foundation. Utilize it to the maximum, but don't let go of your personal growth. If you let go of yourself just because you have a family business, you have a name, you have a great car, or you have a great factory, it doesn't end there. It starts when you start contributing to that business, when you add a part of your identity, your value to that business, and that's when you will see yourself flourish and the family business flourish. Last but not the least, I would like to say that it's very easy to run a professional company. It's very easy to run an MNC company. It's hard to run or be part of a family business because you cannot hurt the feelings of your parents, of your uncle, of your cousin. So learn to take them along. Be patient. Relationships are critical in family run businesses. You will make 10x the money. Why? Because you've got your family with you. So make sure that don't chase the 10x and leave the family behind. Don't be so soft that you want to be with the family that you forget how to run the business. It's a fine act, learn the balance, but you'll have to pay attention to all the three aspects: your family, your business, and the wealth that you're generating together. So that's my advice to them.
Very well said. All right. Thank you so much to all the listeners. Smita ma'am, thank you so much. We had some interesting insights, and make sure you read her book, Family Run to Family Led. Thank you so much, Smita ma'am.
Thank you, Rudrik. Thank you, Tirth. Lovely having a conversation with you.
If you found value in today's conversation, take a moment and subscribe to our podcast. Your support helps us grow and bring even more amazing guests to share their expertise with you. Make sure to share this episode with someone you know who would really benefit from it. Whether it's a friend, sibling, or colleague, this could be life-changing push they need to take a step forward in their journey. Thank you for tuning in to All That Matters. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep focusing on things that actually matter.